She gotcha. She can reach your goals and soar. She will keep your mind on the dollar. That's a disease that can be cured.
It's the queen of queens with the money when it matters for you and I. It's the queen of queens with the money when it matters for you and me. It's the queen of queens with the money when it matters. Listen and learn. It's the queen of queens with the money when it matters. Y'all come and see.
These are the money minutes that matter with Paula, that's for sure. Get your money right when your money's tight. For debt, she's got the cure. She knows the way to help you save your money today. Build a budget, grow your wealth, nurse your health. Come on, don't delay. With her advice to learn how to allocate, don't hesitate. Wait, this is the day to elevate your health, your wealth, and everything else. Get money saved no matter what is felt. There's a disease that thrives that ruins our lives. It's yet you bet, but sure we can fight it. You know that she'll help. Not her, then who else? No in between. She'll make it a scene. Cause
It's the queen of queens with the money when it matters for you and I. It's the queen of queens with the money when it matters for you It's the queen of queens with the money when it matters for you.
Hey guys, this is your girl Paula, the queen from Queens. These are money minutes that matter, but today this is Wealth Wednesday workshops, and I am so excited. It's so important to me that we bring the right people to our community. There is so much that we need to be instrumental in our growth financially, economically, in our wealth building. And I bring people to you that I trust and that I respect. And tonight is no different. I am bringing to you my friend, Brian Clarke. Hey, Brian, let's bring you on the screen. Hey, Brian,
Hello, Paula.
how
Good night.
are you?
I am outstanding. And yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, I need my audience to know that I've known you. I met you the very first day that you got married.
Wow.
It's interesting. I was dating my husband, and I guess you were engaged to your wife at the point. It's like more than 35 years ago.
That's
And
correct.
he invited me as a guest to your wedding. And that's the first day that we met. And it's just been tremendous growth since then. We raised our kids together. You're the godfather of my kids. My husband's the godfather of your children. We do birthdays, parties, and anniversaries. It's just amazing how we stay connected, both professionally and in business. So I want to bring you to my audience because you're the master. You've been in banking for more than 2 decades. You are not a CPA, but you are a CPPA. And people need to know that you're a CFO, you're a CEO. So let's talk about you. Brian, what is a CPPA?
Well, Paula, CPPA stands for Certified Private Pro Advisor. And that's basically a certification that a lot of accountants have, including CPAs. A normal CPA, certified public accountant, while a CPPA, now certified private pro advisor. And a lot of CPAs also have that certification as well. So basically, it is a certification that says you are qualified to help clients with their QuickBooks, whether it's desktop or online.
Okay, excellent. So let's talk about your banking career, because I think it's your banking career got you started with your financial literacy business. So banking, I mean, because you were a CPPA, you went into the banking industry right after college. Am I correct?
That is correct. That is correct, Paula. And I will say one of the reasons why I went into banking, Thank you for asking that. One of the reasons why I went into banking, one of my audit cases or courses that I did at NC State showed how a lot of CFOs, accountants, were doing fraudulent things for their CEOs. And I said, I don't want to be like that. So I went to my career center, and they did a statistics that showed that the top industry where honesty and integrity at that time, this is around 1998, 1999, was banking. Banking was number one, and number 100 is being a car salesman. So I chose the banking industry, and that's how I ended up in banking.
So banking led you to becoming the CEO of ABC Management, where you speak nationally about financial literacy. So you're not new to this. As a matter of fact, you can say I'm following in your footsteps because you've been doing this for more than 20 years. You teach in your local community. You've been teaching state to state. You know this business like the back of your hand. And I know it's important to you that our community gets this information.
Absolutely, Paula. Absolutely.
So let's talk about your other profession where you're the CFO of a renewable energy business.
Well, Paula, being the CFO for Biogas Corp, my role there is to raise capital for the company, in addition to overseeing the finance and accounting functions of the business. And also, I am learning to do a little development myself. So basically, Biogas Corp is a company that convert waste into energy. Waste, whether it's food waste or animal waste, we can turn it into energy that powers your homes. The light that I'm using right now can be provided by renewable energy. There are transportations right now in California that is using renewable natural gas. We'll be producing renewable natural gas as well.
Are you saying you're using methane, poop,
Yep.
gas to power stuff?
Amen. Yes, we are. We are.
Well, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. I know you're one of my husband's very best friends. We played soccer together at NC State 3 decades ago. And we've been doing this journey together. And I want my audience to hear from you. So we're going to approach tonight a little bit different. Instead of us doing the usual question and answering, I'm going to turn the studio over to you for the next 10, 15 minutes. And I'll let you do your thing. And I'll jump in accordance to ensure that our audience get the information that you need for them to have. Is that fair?
That's fair enough, Paula. Fair.
Okay.
I'm a fair guy, and you're a fair lady.
I'm here. See you in a minute.
See you, Paula. Thank you very much. Well, I'll get the engineers to bring up the presentation, and they will help me with my presentation tonight. Paula, for your audience tonight, this is the agenda. On the screen, this is the agenda that we're going to go over tonight. And the presentation title is Transform Financial Stress into Success and Access. But Paula, I also want to say thank you very much for that little chit chat. Paula liked to be called the Queen from Queens, New York, where we met the first time when we got married. So thank you for inviting me to share and to introduce the 5 laws of credit to your audience. I also want to applaud you, Paula. I really want to applaud you for providing your Wealth Wednesday workshop online platform that provides valuable and durable information to better the lives of your audience as well as people in general. That aligns with our mission as well. So I'm delighted to do this with you. So now, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, welcome. I invite you to engage with this presentation right from the start by responding to this simple yes or no question. Are you happy with how your credit and money experiences are working for you right now? Are you happy or satisfied with how your credit and money experiences are working for you right now? Please be candid and put your answers in the chat right now. Are you happy or are you satisfied with how your credit and money experiences are working for you right now? And Paula, when your audience give you some response, please just share your thoughts about what the audience has said, so we can I can get them engaged from now for the remainder of the presentation.
Well, as they're typing, let me say that I am currently very satisfied with my financial situation, but it wasn't always like that. Very honestly, when I was in debt, it was probably the worst time of my marriage. We were fighting all the time. We were honestly one banana peel ride away from losing it all. We had so much debt. We had like $200,000 of consumer debt, not including tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debt, cars, student loan debt. And on top of all that, we had just bought our house and our son was going off to college. And the FAFSA program decided that my son didn't qualify for any grants and scholarships because it was based upon our income. So for those people who don't know, the first 23 years in traditional colleges is managed by FAFSA, and your income may be the determining factor for your child's education. So for us, we had no money saved. We hadn't done a 529 plan. And the concern was, how was this kid going to go to college? And it was all on us. And it was a tough decision. And quite frankly, it was scary. Because if my husband lost his job, if my husband missed a paycheck, if I missed a paycheck, we would have lost everything. So that's my candid response. I'm better now because I've been out of debt for a long time. And that's why it's important that I give that information. But to be honest with you, it's frightening to be in a situation where you have no control of your finances.
I agree with you 100%, Paul. And I'm delighted that you have gone through that adversity. And I have a saying, anytime people go through situations like that, what you have been through with your family, I call it this: adversity is unthinkable prosperity. And now look at you now, Paula.
Well, it's so important, Daryl, because Daryl is my background engineer, and I apologize. But it's so important, Brian, that we focus on how do we make our community better. And I just came from Dubai. I just came from Dubai literally 48 hours ago. And Dubai and the United Arab Emirates is one of the wealthiest nations in the world. There's so much opulence. There's gold. They even air condition the sidewalks and the underground garages. They air condition it because they have that much wealth. But when you look at them compared to where we are financially, everything that glitters isn't gold. And I say that to say we've got to focus on controlling our household before we can control outside of that. And that includes using other people's money, which I know you're going to get to. So let's just continue with the slideshow and we'll get back together later.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Paula. Now, according to a 2021 Charles Schwab survey, and Paula, you're familiar with statistics like this, approximately 59% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. As does Thomas Doubtfire in this example on your screen, a working class, proud American who earns $4,200 monthly as his net pay after taxes, etc. Now, in this example that you see on your screen, earning $4,200, when he pays his rent, pays his college loan, pays his vehicle payment, notice the 10% loan, we'll get back to that later on in the presentation, pays for food, his vehicle, insurance, cable, 6 credit cards, and a cell phone, Thomas Doubtfire has nothing left over for savings or for even an adversity emergency fund. And thus, Thomas is living paycheck to paycheck. Living paycheck to paycheck is like living close to an impending financial time bomb. Ladies and gentlemen, are you living paycheck to paycheck? Are you living paycheck to broke? Will you please take your best guess, audience? I'm going to ask a question. And when I ask questions like this to you, audience, this gives you an opportunity to win a special gift or prize. Will you take your best guess and tell me in the chat, and tell Paula in the chat, what adversity is going to hit Mr. Thomas Doubtfire before I mention it. Please make your guess right now in the chat because you could win a gift. Paula, I would like you to chime back in and let me know if the audience will participate, because I want to be generous tonight in the gifts that we're going to give later on if they hang around.
Well, I like gifts myself, but I think that our audience doesn't want to chat tonight. They may want to jump on live, but maybe they don't want to chat.
Okay, all righty. So we'll go ahead and continue then. We'll continue, Paula. Hopefully this will entice them enough when we start to advertise what the prizes will be. So if I get very generous, I will let you know and tell them what they will win if they engage in the conversation. Now, with max out credit cards, okay, since no one communicated what the adversity, I'm going to tell you. With Thomas living paycheck to paycheck, his car broke down on the way to work, and the repairs are estimated to cost him $1,200. When you live in paycheck to paycheck, you have no savings, and adversity like a car breaking down is an issue. Now, Thomas, as well as you, audience, you could use our 5 laws of credit coaching to transform your financial stress into success and access. Now, let me tell you who we are and what we do at ABC Management, Inc. At ABC Management, Inc., excuse me, at ABC Management, Inc., we are a genuine cash and credit management provider beyond the classroom. Beyond your normal classroom, the stuff that I'm going to be teaching you tonight and introduce you to with respect to the 5 laws of credit are not taught in your middle school, your high school, or even college. I did not learn this stuff in college. We do all these things. You leveraging all these activities that you see on your screen right now, from banking, professional banking, accounting, tax, and credit intelligence. Now, let's do things a little differently and talk to you a little bit about credit. And I'm going to introduce how we define credit for you tonight. And it's on your screen. Credit is the trust or confidence others have in your ability to meet or satisfy your present and future obligations with little or no risk at all. Credit is trust, nothing more and nothing less. It is the trust of others in your ability to meet your obligations in a timely manner. For example, it is your landlord's trust in your ability to pay your rent timely. It is your insurance company's trust in your ability to pay your insurance premiums when they are due. If you have a mortgage, it's your mortgage lender's trust in your ability to make your payments timely according to the promissory note that you signed. Now, let's make it even more personal. It is the trust of your family members, your boyfriend or your girlfriend, your partner, in your ability to make your payments timely. Remember this as long as you live. Credit is other people's trust in you and also your trust in them. It's a two-way street. Now, let's give you another different perspective on how we define or look at money. On your screen, money is a medium of exchange for goods and services that meet or satisfy your present and future needs or wants when you desire them, whether that be homes, cars, investments in stocks and bonds, clothing, technologies. Okay? Money is just a tool for exchanging goods and services. Use it as such. Now, experience is a great teacher, but can also be a cruel instructor. At ABC Management, Inc., we want you to decide well, live well, and experience greatness. When you do not intentionally implement the 5 laws of credit I'm going to introduce to you later, you will begin or continue to experience these credit and money issues or burdens, aka stress. On the flip side of things, when you intentionally implement the 5 laws of credit I'm going to introduce you to, you will experience these benefits, is what I call them. Now, let me share the 5 steps for you to follow. Let me share the 5 steps that I want you to follow, okay, before I get into the 5 laws of credit. These 5 steps are on your screen right now. Visualization, identification, OPM knowledge acquisition and calculation, execution, and documentation. Now, when you have a stress issue or a financial issue or a financial burden, you need to visualize how you want to get out of this. Visualize your goals, visualize your desires, visualize your needs. Then after the visualization, you want to identify and determine your solution funding sources to accomplish what you visualize. OPM stands for Other People's Money Knowledge Acquisition. Now, what I'm sharing with you, I'm giving you a quick overview because a detailed presentation is beyond the scope of this presentation. So let me continue with a quick overview. OPM knowledge acquisition. This is other people's money. Using the 5 laws of credit to know and understand the funding sources guidelines. And the 5 laws of credit in itself, when I give you the definition of those 5 laws of credit and the must know and must do, you will be able to understand how money people make decisions regarding credit. Paula, you want to jump in here?
You know, it's interesting because we all talk about getting out of debt, making money, not living paycheck to paycheck. But OPM also means being in a position to use other people's money to buy a house and to buy a car. So those things are essential because I've never bought a house in cash. I've never bought a new car in cash either. So if you're not credit worthy, then it impacts your using OPM.
Okay. If I just realized that one of the slides are missing, so I'm going to ask my engineer to jump to, let me tell you what slide it is. The slide that says 5 laws of credit. We're going to go forward and then we're going to come back. One more. There we go. Right there. So the 5 laws of credit. Let's talk to you about these 5 laws of credit that you must know and must do. And I call it the must know and must do intelligence that are more uncommon than common to transform your financial stress into credit and money success and thus access. Now, whether you, me, or we want to believe what I'm going to share with you, this is how financial institutions like bankers, I'm a former relationship banker, makes decision about when they want to lend money to you. And it's not only about these financial institutions. I just talked to you that credit is trust, nothing more, nothing less. And it's the trust of your landlord. Landlords, insurance companies, banks, some family members utilize principles like these unknowingly to make decisions whether to trust you or not to trust you. Now, let's go through them one at a time. We'll start with the law of character. The law of character requires you to pay your obligations timely. We're talking your bills, your debts. Whatever financial obligations you have, you need to pay them timely. And when I mean by timely, I mean in time or on time, but absolutely no time at all. You should always pay your bills timely. So you must pay your obligations timely. That is in time, which means before the due date, rather than waiting on the due date. And we'll talk more about that later on. Let's move over to the law of condition. This law requires you to have sustainable demand for your talents, your treasures, and your ideas. Your talents is your skills that you have as an employee. Your treasures, if you're running a business, it's your products and services. And your ideas are ideas, whether you're an employee or whether you're a business owner. You must have sustainable demand for your talents, your treasures, or your ideas. And I hope you do ask me some questions on that later on, because there's a lot of intelligence in that. Now, let's move over to the law of capital. This law requires you to have eternal access to cash with a positive and significant net worth. This is other people's money I'm talking about you should have access to, in addition to your own. The law of collateral. This law requires you to invest, spend, or acquire assets that either increase in value or produces cash flow. The law of collateral, you must invest, spend, or acquire assets that increase in value and or produces cash flow. That's the knowledge and must know with respect to the law of collateral. Now let's go back to the law of cash flow right here. Now, the last but not least, this law requires you to manage your income activities to be significantly greater than your expense activities. The law of cash flow, which we call the liquidity or the money flow, you must manage all of your income activities to be significantly greater than your expense activities. When you put these together, they work like a championship team. When you create sustainable demand for your talent or treasures and ideas, you'll always be in demand, and that demand will produce the cash flow. When you have the cash flow and you manage your income activities to be significantly greater than your expense activities, if you heard Paula's example, when she was struggling a little bit in the early days of her marriage, when you know this intelligence and you have the discipline, you have the determination, and you have the dedication, you will definitely have the control to control your spending. And you can also control your earnings, but that's for another day. So the law of cash flow is very, very critical.
Hey, Brian.
Everything works. Come on in, Paula.
I'm sorry. Let me interject, right? And I love this, right? Because when you talk about the 5 laws of credit, I'm thinking you're talking about, the 5 things that make up your credit score. No, this is totally different. So I'm loving this. But let's break it down. Assets versus liabilities, income versus net worth. What are we talking about here?
Okay, assets versus liability. That falls under the law of capital. We'll take that one first, Paula. So the law of capital, and when you talk about assets versus liabilities, that's the balance sheet. So for an individual, we call it the personal balance sheet, in which we compare the assets to the liabilities. And when your assets are greater than your liabilities, you will have what we call net worth, which is synonymous to capital. So the law of capital measures your wealth. The law of capital measures your wealth, and it's a formula. A for assets equals C for capital, which is synonymous with net worth, plus L, which is for liabilities or debts. A equals C plus L. And for those of you who may not like algebra back in the day, this is where your algebra is very important. Because if A equals C plus L, A for assets, C for capital, L for liabilities or debts, and you have read Paula's books and paid off your debts, then you have A equals C, or A equals your capital, or A equals your net worth. which is the state in which you want to achieve to have financial freedom. So Paula, that is the law of capital. And your next question, you ask about revenues.
No, I asked you what makes up your net worth.
Okay, so let me give you some more detail. So I just gave the formula for the net worth, what makes up your net worth. So assets, right? What are assets? Let me give you some examples of assets. Your house, your cars, your jewelry, your dog is not included as an asset. Your furniture, your artwork, your investments in stocks, bonds, cattle, whatever investments are in, those are your assets. Assets are valuable resources that can convert, you can sell it to earn income as well. So that's the asset side with respect to whether your business or whether it's personal. Now, on the other side of the equation, you have your debts or your liabilities. When I use the acronym A equals C plus L. Remember, C is for capital, L is for liabilities. That's what makes those are the components of your net worth. So your net worth is calculated by totaling up all your assets, subtracting all your debts or your liabilities, and what's left over is your net worth, or what we call your capital. And that's the capital that you have access to. That's your own money.
And what if
and also could include others.
What if
well.
your liability exceeds your assets?
Then Paula, that's what we call a negative net worth. That means you're worth nothing on paper.
On paper, right? So
yes, you're worth nothing on paper.
Which also may mean that you're a really high credit risk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When businesses or family members like myself, if you're a family member and I look at your net worth, if you're quite negative, I am not interested in being in a financial relationship with you, and let's use banks or credit unions here. When a bank or a credit union or an investor sees that you have negative net worth, Paula, they are not willing to take any risk with you because they see you as risky. Very risky.
If they take the risk with you, I mean, I have a client, we're working it through, and they purchased a car, and they had an old car that was broken down that wasn't paid off. So they had to absorb $5,000 to $6,000 into their new used car, right? Yeah. So if the used car was costing $25,000, they had to now absorb $6,000 from the old car, making that used car now costing them $31,000. But because their credit score was less than 600, when I calculated it with them, they were paying 23% in interest.
Ouch.
So they're buying this used car more than 2.5 times. And by the time they pay off this 5-year loan on the car that's already 6 years old, they're going to need to buy another car and be in the same situation.
We call that negative equity, Paula. It's a vicious cycle when we as consumers get into that cycle. I've experienced that as well. As I said earlier, experience is a great teacher or a cruel instructor. I have experienced that cruelty that you just mentioned a long time ago in my early days when I'm starting out to use credit. So yes, that's a really, really adverse situation to get into, but someone can get out of it. And the way to get out of it, they'll have to learn how to put these 5 laws of credit together. In addition to the teachings that you've been providing, will help them to get out of it in the future.
So putting those 5 laws together, a lot of people are under the assumption or under the thought process that I don't need to have any credit, right? And there's a healthy balance in all of this, but not having credit can also be detrimental. Am I correct?
Absolutely, Paula. You see, because some people sometimes when they look at credit, they think about money or a loan. If the audience was listening to how we define credit is trust. Nothing more and nothing less. If they change their mindset and their heart set with respect to how we look at credit, they will understand that they need credit in this life. How can you live in this world without trust?
That's in every relationship, right? So we're
Amen.
talking about in relationships with our spouses, with our loved ones, with our children. And it also goes across to your place of employment and into every financial institution. Because as you said in the past, if you're not credit worthy, am I going to lend you $400,000 to buy a house? If you can't
Absolutely.
pay your rent, right? And you can't pay your car payment on time, am I going to give you $400,000 of my money?
No way.
So we have a guest in the audience. Let me pull them up.
Okay.
Jamel is on audio only. We can't see his picture. Oh, hi. Look like you're in the pool. Hi, Jamel. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. How are y'all?
We're doing well, thank you. What can we do for you today, Jamel?
Yes, I would like to firstly say great presentation, very insightful. And I'd like to ask, at least for Brian, I'd like to ask, how would you define success?
That's a very interesting question there, Jamel. Thank you for your question. We're talking about transforming financial stress into success and access. Now, I'm going to give you a definition of success that I learned from a great famous actress. I'm going to give you her spin first, and then I'm going to share with you my spin. Grace Jones. Most of you should know about Grace Jones. She defines success as learning and knowing what's working for you, perfect it, and simultaneously eliminate weakness. That's the best definition I discovered with respect to success, how to define success. Now, to add my little spin to it, like I would normally do with some things when I learn some great intel from someone, even like Grace Jones, I define success as learning and knowing what's working right for you with discipline and determination, perfect it with diligence, and then eliminate weaknesses with even more discipline, even more determination, even more dedication, and even more diligence. So success for me is learning and knowing what's working right, perfect it, and simultaneously eliminate all weaknesses by applying what I call my favorite 3 Ds: discipline, determination, dedication, and I will add diligence to it as well. So that's how I define success. Paula?
I think that's a beautiful, I think it was a beautiful definition. Yeah. And may I ask another question?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. And now, with all that you know, at least leading up to where you are right now as chairman of ABC Management Incorporated, what would you do differently?
What would we do differently? That's one of the acronym for one of the programs that we have, Paula, WWWDD. What would we do differently? Now, what I would do differently is I would first, let me give you 2 things. I'm a spiritual man. And if I could start over, Jamel, I would apply the Creator's commands with more discipline, with more determination, with more dedication, and more diligence as soon as I could read. That's one thing based on what I know I would do differently. Another thing I know, I'll switch us over to the 5 laws of credit. I would take the 5 laws of credit to a superpower status. And what I mean by that, because you may ask, superpower, super means excessive. Superpower means excessive. So where the law of character is concerned, I'll be super duper on it. I'll be making sure that I'll pay my bills on time, in time, not on time and in time, always be in time. I do both. I will take it to in time. With the law of condition, I will take that to another level. I will do whatever I need to do at a higher level and get very excessive and passionate about it to make sure that people demand the skills and talents and ideas that we have. And with the law of capital, Paula was asking the question of what the net worth is included, I would want to have the highest net worth possible. Okay. Take that into the billions. I'm not a billionaire yet. I do manage billions of dollars, but I'm not a billionaire yet personally. So that's something I would like to do differently. The law of collateral, I would want to utilize that differently, where I would invest my money first in assets that appreciate in value and increase or produces positive cash flow. And then, last but not least, with respect to the law of cash flow, to do things differently, I would want to, I talk about managing your income activities to be greater than your expense activities. I would like to have a huge, maybe like a 10-to-1, where my income activities are greater than my expense activities by 10-to-1. Right now, I'm probably operating at about 2-to-1. We want to get that to 10-to-1. So those are the things that I would differently. And guess what, Jamel? We're working on it.
Thank you, Jamel. Have a good night. Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
pool.
Yeah, I mean, gotta, even at such a nice location here at the pool, it's nice to even hear some great useful tips regarding finances and credit right here.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Brian, we have a couple of questions from you from the audience.
Sure.
This is from the YouTube audience. Minnie Johnson, what is a way to gain credit if you have no form of bills or credit cards? Great question.
Minnie Johnson, thank you for your question. What are ways to gain credit if you have no bills or credit cards? What I have learned, I'm going to share with you, Minnie, and that is, first, let me share a story so you understand how I got into credit. I remember my wife and I, we wanted to buy a car. We had 50%. It's a used car. We had 50%. Let's say the car was $7,000. We had $3,500 to purchase the vehicle. And the dealership would not allow us to buy the car because they told us, we do not have any credit. Now, remember, Minnie, this is before I knew anything about credit. Another example is we tried to rent an apartment on the north side of here in Raleigh, North Carolina, in a pretty nice community. And the landlord told us we don't have any credit. So both the car dealership and the landlord, we asked, what is credit? And they would not answer that question. So we ask people that we know, how do you get credit? The same question you're asking, Minnie. How do we get credit? And someone told me, go to Kimbrell's Furniture and purchase furniture on credit and pay for it over time, this installment plan. That was one. So I'm going to give you that example from how we started to answer your question. And then I'm going to give you my banking experience. When you don't have credit, trust, with paying back people monies that are borrowed, you could utilize your own money by going to a credit union or a bank, if they're still doing this. I've been out of banking for a long time now, but back in the day, we can get a cash loan, or what we call a cash collateral loan. If you have $5,000 in deposits in the bank, Minnie, you could go to the bank and tell them that you would like to borrow $3,000, let's say $3,000, for example. And you want to use your cash in your savings account or your certificate of deposit, whatever you have, as collateral for that loan. And they will grant it to you. I gave you 2 examples in which you can build credit.
That's very similar to what's called a secured credit card, right?
It is, yes.
$500 of your money into a bank and say, let me build my credit against this. So
that is
great
correct.
question, Minnie. We have a lot of questions in the chat, including from Mr. Hugh Roberts. How do hard and soft credit inquiries affect your credit score? And what can I do to minimize negative impacts of inquiries? We have a lot of questions, Brian, and we have about 10 minutes left
Okay.
in the show.
Okay. All right. So we'll stick with the Q&A, Paula, because this is my favorite thing to do in presentations. I'd rather have a back and forth Q&A session so this is good. So we'll stay right here in the Q&A. Q, thank you for your question. Now, hard pull, soft pull. A hard pull affects your credit score. A soft pull, they claim, does not affect your credit score. Now, I'm saying they, meaning like the FICO and these all these companies that are providing credit. I don't really focus that much on the credit score, but I will play by their rules. So if you're trying to buy a vehicle on credit, they're going to pull your credit to make a decision. So there's going to be a hard pull. And that, according to these credit people, will reduce your credit score. That's sad. That's not how it should be. But that's how it is. That's the game they play. And we got to learn to play the game well. Well, a soft pull, which usually occurs, especially when you're trying to buy a home or some real estate, they will not do a full analysis on your credit report. Just probably want to see the credit score to see if your credit score is in a reasonable range to determine whether they should trust you or not trust you with a mortgage loan in that example. So a hard pull does affect your credit score, and it usually will make your credit score go down. A soft pull may or may not affect your credit score, but I've seen examples where it affects it just a little, but not as much as the hard pull.
So let me say this to you as well, Hugh. There are 5 other factors that determine your credit score. 35% is your trustworthiness. Are you paying your bills back on time? 30% is your credit utilization. How much of the credit available to you are you using? If you have $10,000, 30% is the cutoff. You shouldn't use more than 30% of that. 15% is your credit history. How long can they track you back? The longer your history, it says, if your history is positive, then that says that they can track you back and see that you have a good rating and I can trust you with more money. 10% of that is, are you trying to get more credit? The more credit says, hey, this person's being a little bit dangerous. Maybe they want to go deep into debt. And every time you apply for a new credit card or something, it may lower your score 2 to 5 points. And lastly, it's your credit mix. Do you have installment debts like your student loan debt, your car payment, and your mortgage? Or do you just have revolving, which is your credit card? So thank you for that question. Lots of questions more. So here is Amalika. Amalika asks, what are your thoughts on the idea that parents add their children to their credit trade lines early so that the children can build credit?
One simple answer for that, Amalika. An excellent idea. We do that with our children. Excellent idea. So yes, add your children to your trade lines and to your credit cards and to anything, only if, Amalika, that your parents are in good standing and are applying these 5 laws of credit. Because I have seen an experience. I'm a former banker, and I've seen an experience where children are added to parents' credit, and the parents were not doing very well or applying these 5 laws of credit principles to manage their credit and manage money, and thus end up with low credit scores, which affect the children as well. So you have to it's a great idea only if, and as an accountant or professional, we like to answer questions like that as it depends. It depends if the parents are doing very well and have learned these principles and they pay their bills on time and have a really, really good credit score. You want to be tag along, but to be added onto your parents' trade lines or credit cards or whatever the loan may be. It's a great idea only if the parent is handling their credit business very, very well. If not, you don't want to be on it.
And I can join that on too, where I put both of my girls when they were in college on my credit score, on my credit line. I didn't give them the card, but both my girls with no other credit, because their cars are, they got used cars paid off. They don't have any other credit bills or determinants, but both of their credit scores are in the high 700s. Lots more questions to get to, okay?
Sure.
So here we go. Keisha, so with all this being said, would you say credit is definitely more important than money?
Wow, Keisha, that's an interesting question. If credit is more important than money, I would like to tell you yes, because credit is trust, nothing more and nothing less in my definition. Money is just a tool for the exchange goods and services. So if you don't have a great reputation, which is trust, who's going to want to do business with you to exchange, even if you have all the money in the world? So I would give the edge to credit with respect to your question, but they're both important. Credit is important, money is important in this world that we live. We all know that. We need
And you're
credit
saying
and we
credit,
need money.
not, I'm sorry, you're saying credit, not debt.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So remember again, when I'm speaking about credit tonight, I'm talking about trust. Yes, money is one of the denominator with respect to some trusting relationships. For example, a loan relationship. Okay, that money is involved in that. When you have a car loan, a mortgage, or whether you got to pay your insurance premiums, that involves money and credit, because people will have to trust you first to go into that type of financial relationships with you. So the trust, it's like the chicken and egg story. I'll put that first over money any day and any time, but they're both important.
So little Bodie, I'm an independent artist looking to create a business for myself. How do I show banks I'm safe? I'm a safe investment if I have little to no credit history. How do I build good business related credit history? Oh, good question.
Very good question, little Bodie. So you want to be a business owner. And so basically the answer that I gave earlier on, I think to Armalika, is utilize your own money. So, and you heard Paula mention a secured credit card. So you can use a secured credit card or your own money, which is a cash secured loan where you use your own cash as collateral. So if you've invested, let's say you have $20,000 to start your business and you want to build credit with a financial institution, deposit that first. Before you deposit the money into the bank, you will need to ask them, do you provide cash secured loan and or secured credit card type deals? You would need to ask those two questions first, because it'd be great to have the cash secured loan so you can build a relationship with the institution. And then you can also have the secured credit card relationship as well. And leverage your $20,000 as a collateral for both of them. And then make sure you borrow less than what you have in the bank. So for example, if you have 20,000, little Bodie, borrow only 10,000 and then pay that off timely. Start paying it off in about 6 months. And then like in the 7th or 8th month, pay everything off. That's how you can build relationships. And you do the same thing with a credit card. Use it, pay it off. Use it, pay it off. Use it, pay it off. So that's how you would build credit with financial institutions to start your business when you don't have it.
We have a few more minutes and a few more questions.
Sure.
Okay.
I love the questions, Paula. This is the most fun part.
Yeah, exactly. Can you elaborate about why one needs credit? It seems counterintuitive. If I don't need to borrow money, shouldn't I look more trustworthy? So shouldn't I look trustworthy because I'm not borrowing your money? So my credit score should be high if I'm not using other people's money.
Well, I see that point. And I'm sorry, I didn't get the name of the person asking that question, Paula.
Alexia,
I see your point. If you don't want to borrow, it seems like you're very, very trustworthy. But that's just going to be to yourself. Remember, credit is trust. Nothing more, nothing less. It's the trust of others in your ability to meet your obligations, and vice versa. It is your trust in them to meet their responsibilities or obligations if they're going to owe you. So if you don't owe no one any money, Alexia, then that means only you can trust yourself. And when you go to an institution with no credit, if you remember, if you were online when I told both those stories when I was trying to get credit, I had 50% down and they told me I had no credit. Tried to go rent an apartment, they told me I had no credit, which means in their eyes, they would not trust me to purchase a vehicle that I'm providing 50% down payment. And they would not trust me to pay, I think it's probably was about, back in those days, it's about $300 when I was earning at that time around $35,000 a year. They would not allow me to pay $300 a month. So trust, when you don't have any debt or at all, it's just going to be in your eyes only. That's for your eyes only. But credit is trust of others in your ability to meet your obligations. That side is missing in your equation. But you do have the trust in yourself that you can manage with no debt at all. So it's a game. You got to play it well.
It is a game because if you know the numbers, right? I mean, as America, our nation has $33 trillion of debt, which is twice our gross national product, right? We have $14 trillion of personal debt. We have $1 trillion of credit card debt, $1 trillion of automobile debt. These are real numbers. So we live in a society where we are so far in debt, right? So our liabilities are here and our assets are here as a nation. So I get what she's saying. So I get it. And I want to just go and give you a hug and say, yes, you're thinking the right way. Yeah. So even if that means getting out that credit card, and I hate the fact that we've got to use someone else's money to say that I'm trustworthy with your money, because that's all a credit score says. It says I'm trustworthy of someone else's money. So I personally have a credit score ranging from 835 to 850. I don't care because my credit score is that high. I don't have to care. But if that means taking out a credit card, which I hate to say, and paying it off every month before the due date and spending $200 on whatever, paying it back off, doing that over time, which will allow you to build up your credit score. Last question, leader of the pack. Good evening. Isn't it better to have the children establish their own credit as well as early as possible in life to show a stronger and longer credit worthiness?
Yes and no. Again, that depends. If the children are very strong, leader of the pack, the children are very strong. When I mean strong, I'm talking about they have income, their earning income is very strong. Their cash flow adequacy ratio, by that I mean their income to expense ratio is like the 10-to-1, that's a super level, or 2-to-1. 2-to-1 is fair. In my books, that's not very strong. But a 5-to-1 and higher is very strong. So if a child has that, yes, they should build credit on their own. And if the child can learn these 5 principles of credit and apply them consistently, yes, they can do it on their own. They will not need to be added to their parents. But Paul, if I may, I want to come back to Alexia's question. A thought came to me that I want to share with her. That is, Alexia, if you are a millionaire and you're flush with cash, you don't need no trust from anybody. You just operate in your cash society. You don't need the credit society. Just operate in your cash society. But if you ever want to use other people's money instead of yours, then you would want to, build a little trust with other people's money to show them that you can take care of your responsibilities. Paula?
So, Brian, just give me 2 things. I want to mention 2 things to my audience. One, in total transparency, and I always tell you at this point in time what we're doing with our next show. And people are going on vacation, and I respect that because it's so important that we have quality family time. So my push for next month is, 1, to do estate planning, which we need. Anyone over the age of 18 needs to have documents in order. That means when you go to college, your kid needs to know, because you can't speak for them after they're 18 years of old. After 18 years of age, you don't get to speak for them unless it's documented. So I'm trying to get a couple of lawyers on here so that we can discuss estate planning, because it's so essential. If you don't, it may cost you a lot to die. Or I'm trying to do an expert in cybersecurity, because we are getting hacked every day. You hear the stories. I even get these stupid phone calls as if I'm going to give you my personal information. So that's important. And I'm going to let you know via email who's going to come on, because I'm trying to juggle that last Wednesday of July with trying to be in a position where I hear you. Estate planning. I love that. I'm hearing you. I'm seeing you. Robert Kiyosaki says what? Says to only use other people's money. Yeah, I hear all that too. So I'm trying to get an estate planner here. I'm trying. The two that I'm talking to are on vacation. But we'll see. If not that, I'll get a cybersecurity expert on, because we need to know how to protect our assets, because people are coming to get them. And then lastly, this Saturday, I am competing for a spot on the red carpet, on the TEDx stage. And if any of you are available from 12 noon to 2:30 in the afternoon via Zoom, here's the website, TEDxUStreetWomen.com, June contestants. I'm going to blow this out the water, because I have a message that God had implanted into me to teach his children about financial literacy and empowerment. And I'm coming to get them on Saturday. So if you're available and you want to join me, hit this website or check out my website, and it'll lead you to that. But back to Brian. Let me get rid of that off my stage. Brian, do you have any takeaways? Because we have like 30 seconds. Do you have some takeaways we can leave with our audience?
Yes, Paula, if I can have my engineer to go to my takeaway slide, and we'll share those with them real quick. And Paula, applaud you. Congratulations on that. We'll definitely vote for you. But real quickly, since we don't have much time left, the takeaways are on your screen. Apply the 5 laws of credit. Learn them and apply them. They will transform your financial stress into opportunities for success and access. Set your credit score goal. Set a goal to be like Paula, to achieve a range between 800 and 900. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. That's Benjamin Franklin. OPM knowledge. Know other people's money underwriting guidelines for your desires. When I'm talking desires, I'm talking homes, cars, etc. Credit understanding. Increase your understanding with respect to credit. It's trust, nothing more and nothing less. And you should avoid the 10 credit enemies killers. That's for another day. Money is an exchange tool to be used for your needs or wants, and not to be worshipped. Don't worship money. Control. You control your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And you should control your debt and spending. And Paula has a wonderful book called Debt is a Disease That Can Be Cured. Read that book. And last but not least, system. For us, it's an acronym that stands for Save Yourself Time, Energy, and Money. Our book, The 5 Laws of Credit, is a system. The 5 Laws of Credit that we shared with you is a system for you to must know and must do to achieve millionaire status, billionaire status, trillionaire status, or even thousandaire status, but absolutely not zeronaire status. And then Paula's book, if you read that book, that's also a system. It gives you a system of how to triage, if I'm saying that medical term right, to triage your debt. There's system to cover things. And remember, system stands for Save Yourself Time, Energy, and Money, or misery. Paula, those are the key takeaways I'd like to share with your audience for tonight.
Brian, you are absolutely amazing. And I know, you're managing billions of dollars, and I appreciate your giving us your time, because it's so important that we let our community understand that billionaire status is possible. Just like millionaire status, people say, oh, I wish I had $100,000. But as my guest said last year, multiple millionaires is required to go into retirement. and to live in, and you know, for me, it's not about the money. It's what God has called for me to do with the money. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye to you. And I'm going to say the majority rule right now is estate planning, and I got you. I'm going to tap into that, and you have my word on that. If they're not here in July, they will be here in August, because I'm trying to get these vacation schedules. But I love you guys. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for the amazing questions. Thank you for always being here with Money Minutes That Matter, with Wednesday's Wealth Workshops. I got you. I love you. Have an amazing night.
The money when it matters, y'all can't see.
Build your dreams up with Paula. She got ya. She can reach your goals and soar. She will keep your mind on the dollar. That's a disease that can be cured.
It's the queen from Queens with the money when it matters for you. It's the queen from Queens with the money when it matters for you and me. It's the queen from Queens with the money when it matters, the silver nerve. It's the queen from Queens with the money when it matters, y'all come and see.
These are the money minutes that matter with Paula, that's for sure. Get your money right when your money's tight. For debt, she's got the cure. She knows the way to help you save your money today. Build a budget, grow your wealth, nurse your health. Come on, don't delay. With her advice to learn how to allocate, don't hesitate. Wait, this is the day to elevate your health, your wealth, and everything else. Get money saved no matter what is felt. There's a disease that thrives, that ruins our lives. It's yet you bet, but sure we can fight.